Alright, so I'm gonna try my best to continue on from where I was before. But basically, you know, when I was talking about the best moment in time to be alive is basically realizing what you can do, realizing your talents and gifts and what you can actually share with other people. And you see, get off the little woo-woo-ness of how spiritual people actually like look at this, because you see there's a lot of people who suffer, and these are young kids too, who suffer from depression, anxiety, and all these chemical imbalances, which does have a lot to do with the chemical imbalances in your gut microbiome and whatnot, and maybe your organs not being up to par. But then again, it also has to do with a certain level of fulfillment. You know what I'm saying? On a deep level, your spirit knows that you are basically observing everything as a version or an extension of you. Everything is basically you pushed out. You know what I'm saying? So when you do something with a value or a passion, something that doesn't feel like a job to you, but it's something that's of service to other people, then it is actually something that you'll actually gain an abundance of. It's just the natural laws of the universe. You know what I'm saying? You put something out of value. It may not be your agenda to make money, but you may become a millionaire just from doing that. You know what I'm saying? And you'll have a certain level of fulfillment. That satisfaction energy is very, very important. And that's why it is important to get to know yourself. You get what I'm saying? This is the get to know yourself from the inside out as well. You see, from the inside mainly, you know, facing all the shadow aspects of yourself. But then, you know, this is why I actually have been doing a lot of going into iridology. You know what I'm saying? Iridology, when we talk about iridology, you know how they always talk about the eyes are the windows to the soul. You know what I'm saying? And the eyes being the windows to the soul, you know, you look at the little black pupil, you always say, oh, you know, that's where the observer, you know, is behind the eyes and whatnot. See, when you talk about the eyes being the windows to the soul, I mean, you're going to see the soul is basically your vibration, your experiences here as an individual. But you can also map out the eyes in such a way where you're able to see each individual section of your body just by mapping out the eyes. You get what I'm saying? All your organs, everything, all the deficiencies, all the, you know, diseases or anything that you may have, or the stagnation or the blockages are all in the eyes. You know what I'm saying? And if you could train yourself to, you know, map out these eyes, without knowing this person, you could kind of tell the conditions and state of being they're in. I mean, if somebody has liver issues, you know, they're most likely mostly irritated and, you know, suffer of anger issues and whatnot. So these are all brains. All these little organs you have in your universe are all brains. And if they're not in harmony, then this is where you start having disharmonious thoughts and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And it's all coming down to what you actually ingest in your body. You see, for example, this is why I made the example before of the CV-19 mandated virus. You know what I'm saying? You know what your wants and needs are. This is where you're really going to have to start to gauge what are your real wants and needs. Do you need, all right, what you think you want? You get what I'm saying? And, you know, the whole traveling thing and all that, take a step back. This all started from the freaking mask situation. You know what I'm saying? Some people didn't want to wear a mask to go into stores. But did you really need what was in that store? You get what I'm saying? Do you really, really need it? Was it a corporation? You know what I'm saying? Because I noticed I walked into big corporations, I didn't have to wear a mask. I made plenty of videos on these on this topic, so you can just go back and look at the videos titled "Should You Wear Your Mask?" That's what I titled it. But you know, this is where it all started from. You know what I'm saying? And if something was basically like a small business and whatnot, and it's you know, it's considered private property, and you want to support the small business, or let's say you needed something from that small business, but you also respected that it was a private property, no different than if I go into somebody's house, I have, you know, they want me to take off their shoes for, you know, their ethical or religious purposes, then I would take off my shoes. I'm not going to go into somebody's house and tell them, no, I'm not taking off my shoes. If not, I just won't go into their house. You know what I'm saying? If I had a problem taking off my shoe, if I have a problem, you know, wearing a mask, I'm just not going to walk into the business, or I'll just wait till the whole shit just, you know, dies out, because everything it gets played out. You know what I'm saying? And everything surfaces up the way it's going to be shown and looked at for what it actually is. You know what I'm saying? The whole big shift that's happening right now is basically what it is those energies that are coming in, which is the reason why we all need to be in isolation, because we actually connect dots with each other. I was born in a specific point in space, a specific point in time, and somebody else was born in a specific point in space and time, and they have different points of views. Like you're in one space, I'm in another, and I may be perceiving something differently than you, but it's more or less to have an open mind to be able to comprehend and see where that person is coming from, because they're from a point in space. You know what I'm saying? Their name, everything holds a certain space, it holds a frequency and vibration. You know what I'm saying? So I took notes on what I wrote before just in case I didn't want to forget. So let's say, for example, you started to, like, everybody got on the same page and started to do their homework. Now, homework is not homework where, like, where you take work from school and bring it home. No, homework is, because this is not, when you take homework home, that's not even your home. So that's already the wrong words to use. But when you have homework, home is where the heart is. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in your heart space, that's basically the gateway between upper and lower realms. We're only using direction for the sake of conversation, because I don't even believe in the directional part of things. But let's say we're in the heart space. We're in the neutral standpoint. Nature is natural, and it's also neutral. You know what I'm saying? Unconditional love. When you look at the word love, that's also something that's also misunderstood. Like I use the example when, you know, I'm doing something with passion, I'm being a service to others, I'm doing it from an unconditional space. I don't have any agendas or anything like that. I may have sleeping family members, you know what I'm saying? And what's crazy is, instead of judging those sleeping family members or being like these spiritual people, like I have to detach from these people sometimes, without crossing boundaries. You know what I'm saying? You may shed a light or plant the seed, but the moment you're doing that is no different than when I made the example of when I used to make, when I make videos. Sometimes I'll make videos for myself and I'm answering my own questions as I go along. You know how sometimes when you write, you may have something called ghost writing, and then you start to actually come out with crazy stuff just through writing. Sometimes through talking by yourself, you start coming out with realizations, as I'm doing sometimes when I speak on camera, and then I'll make it public to people. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if it's something where I can go back and look at myself, I'm my own critique. I'll know if I was coming from an ego space or if I was actually in the spirit when I was talking. And if I noticed that I was not in the spirit and I was just talking from ego, or I'm making quick reactions to something and I'm just being an emotional wreck, do I really want to feed that to people? See, I wouldn't feed my child toxic food, so I'm not going to feed people in my environment toxic information, which they would have to eat off of. You know what I'm saying? Because this is where we would start to become viruses, mind viruses to other people. How do you think witchcraft works? Well, I think witchcraft works exactly like that. You know what I'm saying? Because with the person's belief and how much energy they put into the fear aspect of it is how they can get attacked even more. The idea they have about the individual. You know what I'm saying? And that person got into their head in the form of a mind virus, because that's all it is. Viruses are nothing but information that you would have to process, and depending on how you process it, it depends on your temperament, your temperature toward it. Because here's the thing though, like when you have a malfunctioning thyroid, okay? The thyroid has a lot to do with your metabolism, for example, right? You'll start to feel an offset of temperature. You start to feel cold chills and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And your hands are cold. That's thyroid issues. Thyroid deals with metabolism. You know what I'm saying? So your temperature is off. Your basal temperature from under your armpit determines your metabolic rate and how things are working in your system. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to have everything working in harmony for that reason. You know what I'm saying? What happens if, for example, you don't process your food properly, or you're not able to break down food properly? It starts to ferment, or you have putrefaction, right? And these things happening in you change the pH of your systems. You know what I'm saying? So this is where you start to go off homeostasis. The mind is connected to the gut. The gut is the first brain, and it sends signals to the brain. You know what I'm saying? How you perceive your reality, but it's coming from underneath, and it's under your heart space. You know what I'm saying? Basically, the sun lights up your reality, okay? So the sun gives light so that you can actually observe your reality, but you cannot see everything. You can only see 0.1% of the color spectrum, right? So the sun is lighting up your reality to a certain percent. It's giving life to the trees and plants that you can actually eat off of, right? But here's the thing though. When you give somebody information, like I was just telling you, there's certain people that may be sleeping and whatnot, and you may just, you know, it's the way you word things. Sometimes you may need to be a good wordsmith, and you start to shed light on certain things for them. Believe it or not, in their unconscious, sleeping, zombie state, they're giving you light as well. Because like I've mentioned before in previous videos, through conversations I've had with certain like religious folks who externalize their power and whatnot, I can actually just certain things they say have connected dots for me, even though I don't subscribe to what they're saying, but it has connected dots for me. This is why there's always a reciprocity going on. There's always hidden gems everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And for example, if the sun gives you light, okay, and you're able to see your reality as information, okay, it's doing it unconditionally, okay. But is the sun lighting up your reality, or are you the one that's opening your eyes, animating the reality and lighting up the sun the moment you open your eyes? You get what I'm saying? Now, as much as you can see from the sun, it's not the sun that's limiting the percentage of light that you can see. It is actually you, because you're the one that opens up your eyes and lights up the sun. You get what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that your inner sun is the one that's working, which is why I'm talking about the solar plexus, the gut microbiome, the CEO of your business. You are the CEO. You have all these little departments with different cells and bacteria, and you're the one that manages these things. Sometimes you may notice you may get irritated, or you may have feelings of anger that just pop up, okay? Just from a little bit of knowledge of how it works out here, knowing that an organ such as the liver is responsible for something like that, you can go inside and start regulating. You can go in there, and if something's stagnant, you can also give it a little kick in the ass and be like, yo, get it moving. What's up with the stagnation over here? You know what I'm saying? You can process and break down things that normally would take somebody else 3 days to process. You could do it right away, only because you're paying attention to detail and because you're doing it with intent. But it's a clear, solid intent behind why you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Let me make sure imagine if everybody got on the same page, right? We would make our own airports where we can travel, right? We would make our own restaurants, right? With natural GMO, non-GMO grown food. You know what I'm saying? In your local community, not importing and exporting from one country to another. You know what I'm saying? Because it just kind of defeats the purpose. But let's say, for example, we can actually, in your own community, start to do things like that. Can you visualize those things happening when you go and you start to visualize, instead of visualizing you having $1 million or your dream date or your dream wife or woman? Can you visualize a community that you live in that's actually thriving, being self-sufficient? Can you visualize that clearly? You know what I'm saying? And what blockages or things come up that negate what you're trying to do? You know what I'm saying? I made the example in the previous video about the FDA. The FDA ain't gonna approve the vaccine, and the reason why is because, see, the vaccine, this is how they can cover their ass. You know what I'm saying? When you open up a business, okay, you have an LLC. You know what I'm saying? The FDA, who owns the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, who monitors them? You know what I'm saying? They're cleaning their hands off any responsibilities of what may happen due to this virus being inserted into you. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't kill you. You can only kill yourself. And whether it's through ignorance or not, the moment you kill yourself, I watched the movie The Terminator 2 has a lot of meaning toward the end of the movie, where he was going to jump into the lava, but he gave John Connor the controls to lower him down into the lava because he cannot self-terminate. You know what I'm saying? So this is the thing. You cannot kill yourself. You know what I'm saying? You cannot kill yourself. But they prefer you kill yourself, because if you kill yourself, then you have to keep being recycled here, because you didn't realize that that was one of the main programs that you cannot break. You know what I'm saying? You cannot self-terminate. You have to strive, because you see, if you self-terminate or you self-inflict harm on yourself, you're actually doing that to everybody else. You are so important that you don't realize that you are a main piece of the puzzle for everybody to complete. Everybody has their own individual gifts and talents to share to the planet, but it is up to you to realize what those gifts and talents are. And believe it or not, it's not like you're doing something for anybody else and you're like, well, why am I doing anything for anybody? No, you don't know the level of fulfillment and satisfaction that you have when you can really find out what your true passions are and what you can share to the planet. And I'm actually realizing this, which is why I'm working on a specific project. You know what I'm saying? Right now, as we speak. You know what I'm saying? So much so, and to the point that even gardening hasn't been my 100% this year like it was in previous years. You know what I'm saying? Or my previous year, because I've only been gardening for, you know, this is my 3rd year gardening. The first year I didn't consider it real gardening because I didn't have any food. Last year was my real first year gardening. But you know, I pulled out 12 watermelons. So that I just harvested 12 watermelons yesterday, and I have maybe another 11 or 12 that I'm waiting for them to ripen, and I still have some baby ones that are actually growing as well. So there's the perfect season where they'll start to basically blow up and come in. So I have another video also that I'm going to post on how you know when to harvest and, you know, pick watermelons. When are they ready? You know what I'm saying? If you're into, you know, gardening or anything like that. But I still have cantaloupes and honeydew that I have to pick. And lately, I don't know what it is. I mean, I've always had an iron stomach, but lately I've had some like kind of crazy, weird digestion issues. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like I'm eating anything crazy out of the ordinary. It's just digestion issues. And that's why I'm going to do a watermelon fast that I'm actually starting tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to start it tomorrow. And it's going to be great. I've got plenty of watermelons. I put them in containers. After I cut them, put them in the freezer. I keep the other ones, of course. I keep them whole. But then I put them in. I cut them up, put them in containers. Between me and my family, we eat the watermelons, and we're good to go. I don't know. I guess that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I did mention the iridology part and why it's so important, because I'll make the example here, and then I'll cut it off. If you look at a car, for example, and you have a check engine light on your car, and you go to the mechanic and you say, I got this check engine light, the mechanic could just be like, okay, he could go 2 ways. He'll cut the check engine light, and he'll be like, well, here, you have no more check engine light. You came in for a check engine light. That was your symptom. You have a check engine light. Cool. He cut the light off, you leave, and the car now breaks down because eventually it starts to, you know what I mean, break down because there was a reason why the check engine light was on. Or he can put the car on a scanner and actually read the trouble code and see where it's actually rooting from. Right? So when you go to doctors, you don't notice that when you go to doctors, you give them your symptoms and they don't do nothing to really scan you. They just read your vitals, which they could be coming normal, but yet you still have some crazy ass underlying health conditions, regardless of your blood test came back good and your you know, your blood pressure and all that shit came out normal. You know what I'm saying? You still may have underlying health conditions, which I'll make in another video how that is so. Okay. That's where I'm going to talk about the kidneys and adrenals, which I've been meaning to actually do that. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'll just give you medications for whatever you came in there complaining about. You know what I'm saying? And it's nothing but suppressing a symptom. It's like shadow work. You hide your shadow, it just comes out and becomes a lot stronger and bigger, and it wreaks chaos and havoc in your life. So when you have symptoms, they're ignored or they're suppressed with medication, so that later they become worse. Then he just prescribes a harder medication for them to eventually have to cut you open, take the organ out, or do some crazy shit that will actually only further monetize the doctor and the pharmaceutical industry, not knowing that you know that you are big pharma and all these organs, and you actually produce all these elixirs within you. You know what I'm saying? You produce them all within you. And I'm talking about from testosterone, from adrenaline, to all these things, from even melatonin that people usually just go into stores to buy because they have trouble sleeping, but they don't really figure out why do they have trouble sleeping. You know what I'm saying? So all these little things are important. And believe it or not, the more you can correct these little issues, the wider perception you're going to have about life, the more empowered you're going to feel. You know what I'm saying? Because you were able to do things and figure it out yourself. You overcome certain fears. You actually feel way more empowered. But the reason why is because those are spiritual brownie points. Like, spiritually, you're gaining an abundance that you wouldn't even believe. The same way you go to work here and go through certain things and then you get paid for it. You know what I'm saying? You may actually be gaining some spiritual currency just by overcoming fears, by overcoming certain levels of ignorance, to actually educate yourself and actually, but these are things that you have to want to really do. You know what I'm saying? But why would you really want to do that? You know what I'm saying? Why does that curiosity arise? Where does it come from? The same way you start to think about, where do thoughts come from? You know what I'm saying? Where do these things come from? Where's the main source of where it comes from? You start to ask yourself, where does this level of curiosity come from? Where do you come from? You know what I'm saying? You were born. This is the beauty of astrology. You can actually start to figure out different points in space, where you're at, energies and whatnot. It's no different than when you map out the eyes. You can see deficiencies, certain things you could work on, because certain things, genetic weaknesses, are also inherited, and you can see them through the eyes. But you can change all those things. Just because you have a inherited genetic weakness doesn't mean you're fucked, because the fact that you can pinpoint it because of decisions and choices that your parents may have made, you correct them now. You know what I'm saying? And then you can actually now pass that generational wealth down to your seed, because that generational genetic weakness is not passed down to your offspring now. You know what I'm saying? So these are little things that you can actually see how it ties in, as within, so without. You know what I'm saying? You look at the planets, oh, look at the energies, look at all this. Why do you think when somebody strikes it big, they say, man, the planet's really aligned for that person? You know what I'm saying? Because you have to know where your alignments are. You know what I'm saying? And then when you can get to know a little bit about yourself in that aspect, a little bit about yourself by mapping out your eyes and start to realize where your weaknesses are, then you can start to make some changes, okay? But this has to be something that you want to do. And this is not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's not to live a lifestyle. It's not a religious lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? You're doing it because you know it's your responsibility to take care of yourself the same way it's your responsibility to take care of your children. You know what I'm saying? You're not just going to be like, I don't want to take care of my children. That's religious thinking. You know what I'm saying? No, you have to take care of your children. You brought your children into this reality, so you have to be responsible for them. But how good of an individual are you going to be taking care of your offsprings if you cannot even take care of yourself? If your body is weak and you're sick and you're in a disharmonious state, in a low vibrational state, because you haven't figured out what's going on within you, how can you actually be responsible for your children though? You know what I'm saying? You see why it's more important to take care of yourself first? That's why they say put on your oxygen mask on first. You know what I'm saying? It's not selfish. You know what I'm saying? But it is self-centered. I mean, the universe is basically revolving around you, because you are the sun of your reality. You're the one lighting up this reality. You're the light. You're the sun. So everything is revolving around you. So you have to be a little self-centered. But don't get lost in the language part of it. But I went all over the place with this video. But I'm going to be making more videos in case I forgot to say something else. Because there are other things I want to start covering as far as the adrenals and your kidneys, electrolytes, which is very important, your aura, and how that has a lot to do with what's going on within you and your mentalities and all the brains and organs and everything that just ties in with it. Because everything is basically interconnected, including the people that you attract and vibrate to on a certain level in your physical reality. You know what I'm saying? So this is why even financial gurus will tell you, you know, in order for you to change your life, you got to change your mind. Changing your mind is basically killing the thoughts, programs, and mentalities you may have had. Killing, just like you dead a relationship. Oh, I just deaded that girl. I'm not with her. You didn't kill anybody. You know what I'm saying? The person's still walking around. You just deaded that situation. That relationship is deaded. So you deaded that stagnant mentality of yours, but you gotta have some discipline now, because the programming is fucked up in the beginning. Where you try to change a habit, this is where you have to have discipline. You could be as motivated as you want. You could listen to motivational videos. You can listen to a video like this and get motivated, but it don't mean shit unless you have discipline. Because you could be as motivated as possible, if there's no discipline behind it, then you're not really getting any action done. That's why the discipline's important. I've made videos before on either you're a disciplined individual or you're a disciple. Disciples are followers. So I'm gonna make another video, because this video is gonna cut off, and we'll talk soon. Like, share, subscribe if you liked it. If not, we'll talk soon.